Welcome, Wargamers. Join your hosts, Bonko and Monte, two Canadian wargaming enthusiasts, as we explore all aspects of tabletop wargaming. We roll dice, talk tactics, share hobby hacks, and explore new tabletop systems, all on the Trident Wargaming Podcast. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 1. So,
Hey, everybody.
We're jumping right in. Basically, can you play a better Battletech?
That's a tough question on that.
It definitely is. That's going to be the focus on this particular episode. I guess first things first. Hobby stuff. Gotten any new hobby stuff going?
I wouldn't say new-ish. Still some of the same old fight for the Warhammer world, but got some new Wolf Dragoons lately, thanks to Bill here. So they're going to be on the docket for getting all painted up and whatnot. For Battletech-wise, like we got, obviously got tons of other mechs to work on. Still working on the Merrick Forces. Other than that, just kind of bolt action, Battletech, Warhammer, you name it, I might have it.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
How about yourself, Phil?
Well, myself, I also have a Wolf's Dragoons Assault Star. Decided to grab a few of those boxes when they went up for the Barnes & Noble pre-order. It was kind of an impulse buy, but very cool because, some of those mechs I don't even have. I was able to do a little soiree trade here. Was able to source out a Crusader from Andy for a dirty old Thunderbolt. Mm-hmm. So that was a good trade, I think.
Oh yeah, been looking for a second one myself, so it worked out. I have a warehouse full of mechs, so
yeah,
it works for both of us, right?
It does. And the whole reason I was kind of wanting that Crusader is I was looking to get an actual force. I'm trying to go very true to the fluff for my Grey Death Legion. So I actually have my my first company. I've got my Command Lance, right, with the Marauder, a Wolverine, a Rifleman, and a Griffin. Then I've got my Fire Lance with the Warhammer, Crusader, Shadowhawk, and the Assassin. So my goal is to round it all up with that Recon Lance and call it good. So I need to source another Griffin and a Vulcan. And then they're done.
Yeah, Griffin might be a tough one to find, a second one.
Yeah, might have to rely on the sweet printer go boot again, so.
Yeah, 3D printing prints for Battletech based off of obviously MechWarrior line or some custom builds that guys have done out there with, their skill in managing to make them look pretty close to a lot of the stuff that's actually out online.
Oh yeah.
But it's a great resource for Battletech in general, right? Yeah. So yeah, like Catalyst games and or 3D printing your own if you have that ability, or if you're buying them whatever way you want. It's both are additions and like strengths, I think, to the game and the community. So, put away your pewter, bring out the plastic, and start rolling dice.
No doubt.
But jokes aside, I mean, guys who are old school players who have all their mechs and pewters, props to you guys as well. It's neat seeing the old minis come out. Myself, used to have tons of them, but now that the new generation of plastic and resin and 3D printing's out, I've found my way with that myself. So, but it kind of, I guess, helps with the community building as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Definitely does.
two thumbs up for me. But yeah, so recently, I guess, so we did get a game in recently of BattleTech.
Yeah, we did. It was Lance
Right.
on Lance action. So we played map and a half at 6,000 BV.
Yeah. So we're trying to, in our local here, we're trying out some different things. We're trying out different map sizes to see how to possibly how it affects the game and how it could speed up the game as well. Because as most of you guys know, it's a very intricate game with a lot of rules and I guess almost equations, I should say.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of tallying of things and whatnot, and some bookkeeping, of course. So anything that we can do to like speed it up is a big bonus, right? So again, like Bill said, 6,000 BV. We each had 4 mechs, and we had a couple of different gunnery and piloting skills in our groups there, in our lances. I was playing my Merrick forces, my Free Worlds Guard, and Bill decided to drop his Merc group
Yep.
for, I think, the first time.
Ever. Yeah.
So it was interesting. The map size did definitely make a difference. We got through the game in, I think, maybe 4.5 hours?
Yeah, for a full
Something like that.
full game, I think around there.
It was like, I think we were like 6 going on 7th turn or something. So, you know, 4.5 hours is still a long time to play. But like anything with BattleTech, it's kind of a session that you're putting in. So, going into maybe a little bit of detail in the game, I decided to make a lance kind of targeting around like missiles and trying to use narc and whatnot. So that was a slight little interesting experiment, and wasn't too fond of how things were working out with the equipment and whatnot. I just found that it was still getting really hard to hit high numbers, you know, and even just the other weapons too in the game at the moment.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
You know, and like on your side, Bill, I don't know if you found the same. You know, kind of when we were closing in on each other and stuff.
Well, even closing in, and you're still needing like 9s. It's it's a little bit tough, for sure.
Well, there's a lot of modifiers in the game, right? Which, I mean, right off the bat, you have to deal with your gunnery skill, whatever you decide to go with, and then you have your movement penalties, of course. But that the terrain in between and the range and all that, and you really feel like, you know, okay, these long range weapons, they may not be that as accurate as you think, but I don't know, 80-90% of the time you're not hitting at all. So you really have to close in, right?
It's true.
So I don't know, the thing, I guess the whole thing about this episode is like, what kind of things are there that can happen that could improve, I guess, the game, you know, that might speed it up or make it a bit more action in it. You know what I mean? So, because I know in our community we've talked about it too, and we've seen some stuff online that you know, it's a fun game, and there's a lot of detail to it, but there's some stuff that feels dated. You know, and rightfully so, because it is an older game.
Yeah.
But how would you improve it? How would you change things, or what could you change them? Because there is a lot of players in communities that they definitely do use a lot of house rules for this system, right? I think maybe more so in this system than any other system that I've played. So I don't know about yourself, Bill, but I think we've played most of the games we've played. We're always playing the same game, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a system I think that needs a little bit of fine tuning, especially to, I guess the best word is to be comparable to other tabletop games. So, we both played Inner Sphere Forces. It was my first time running actual, pure Inner Sphere. And it was definitely an eye-opener. It felt very, very uphill. And, most of my mechs were 4-5. My Marauder, I was rocking 3-4. But it was brutal. Like, the ranges for most of your weapons, capping out around the 9 mark for some of these lasers. And, again, looking for majority of the game between, 9s and 10s. Just, it felt very grindy, and it did very much become like a point blank shooting fest, because we were engaging each other. I'm trying to take advantage of jump jets, getting behind Andy, and we're just blasting away, and it's just, man, it very much got me thinking on Googling up some ways, is there Battletech tactics, or is there Battletech any new ways to try and improve or make the game a little faster? Because it still is a very in-depth game. There's a lot of moving parts, like Andy mentioned. So I ended up finding a Reddit post the other day, and was kind of peeking at it, reading it, and then we started talking about it, and very much want to try and using it just to start, right? Just to see a quick, maybe try a game with it and see how it actually improves the gameplay, the speed of the game itself. Does it take away from any of the immersion? From reading online, it doesn't seem too bad. I'm actually referring to, it is a house rule pack that Death from Above Wargaming came out with. It's for their classic optional house rules, and they have a really nice little PDF you can download and throw it down on there, and it's pretty well put together, I would say. Some of the house rules in particular, there's 2 main points that we really wanted to look at, and the one is changing the modifiers for distance. Okay. So currently, the as-is rules is 0 is for your short range. There's 0 modifier, medium range is +2, and then long range is +4.
Right.
Now, how these guys have the breakdown, and it just helps with a gameplay, is again, short range is 0, medium range is only +1, and long range is +2. They also have a thing for extreme range, is +4, which is medium range doubled.
Okay.
They also have a note in here saying that running your mechs with 3-4 across the board, and playing with tonnage can also be a big bump to help speed it up as well. Number one, your mechs across the board are better. They're firing obviously better. The reduction in modifiers to your ranges makes it a little bit easier to hit on this 2d6 system that we have. And I think just even that being applied to the game would dramatically change the feel of long range weapons.
Yeah, because I mean, so with those changes, so technically, okay, so you start off with a 3 with your gunnery, right? And then you would, let's say your opponent's movement is +2.
Yeah.
So you're already at 5,
Yeah.
right? And then range, let's say it's in long range, so 7.
Yeah, and if you ran, make it a 9.
Right, and then if there's terrain in the way, so let's say there's one light woods,
Yeah.
so you're at 10,
Yeah.
right? So I mean that's already at long range. Yeah, it's still higher, like it's still high at a 10, but it's better than a 12 or not
12 or
hitting at
13,
all.
yeah, like, and that's kind of what was happening. Like, I know those first 2 turns that we played, we couldn't really shoot anything. We couldn't do anything, and we're like, we're running towards each other, trying to, close that gap, but it really, there's 2 turns where you're really not doing a lot. Just a little bit here.
Well, that's true, because like in our game, it wasn't until the 3rd turn that my, measly little raven actually scored some hits on you.
Yeah.
Where like nobody else across the board hit at all. Right? And we were getting like mid-range by that time, right? We were all moving as best we could through the terrain and stuff, because you all know how trees and hills all start to cumulatively stack on each other for movement. So yeah, if you just kind of, okay, this is still hard. Like, even though you got like behind me with jump jets and all that stuff, you would think, oh, okay, this is my chance. I'm going to rip them apart from behind. And you still needed 9s.
Yeah.
Not knocking the original system or nothing, but if you're hardcore on the original system, hey, that's cool. All the power to you. I love playing the original system myself too. But it's always nice to try something that could improve the fun of the game.
Yeah.
So, myself, I'm giving this. I'm going to give this a try with Bill. I am the old school gamer from back in the day. So, and Bill, he's newer to BattleTech. So, it's nice to collaborate and try these new things. So, but anyways, keep going there, Bill.
One of the main things that they ended up mentioning, like in this Reddit article, is this change not only helps with the 2d6 probability problem. You'll notice it also allows you to play mechs and the respective loadouts more as the fluff describes them. Basically, the long range platforms, the long range mechs, i.e., your riflemen, even your stalker, Timberwolf, things like that have the long range weapons, ERPPCs, you name it, they shouldn't be, looking for 11s and 12s to hit, where typically, in the lore, they are providing long range support and they're actually doing something. Even if you play MechWarrior Online, the guys who have long range weapons, they are in the back. They are actually shooting from the back. Sometimes they're slicing you in the rear, taking out your armor, and that's a whole nother story. But for the most part, long range is long range. You should be able to take advantage of it to a degree. I do think that the modifiers would help a lot, and also using the veteran or higher gunnery pilot skill, 3-4 across the board, is kind of nice. Now, that said, you don't have to play strictly with tonnage. You could just wrap your games in more BV. Like, we only played 6,000. So if I really wanted to make it 3-4, I think we'd probably be closer to around the 8 or 9,000. But like, that's an agreeable point level that you guys can play, and still have fun with picking and choosing how you're actually gonna run your mechs. Another point that they mention, and a lot of this stuff actually we were doing on here, is basically using your movement dice as modifiers like on board, and I think a lot of people who play do that anyways. That just helps, speed it up. Using pairs of different colored dice to roll attacks simultaneously. I know we're doing that already. It seems to very much help versus...
Even though my dice really suck for that.
Wow.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. It's just, it does seem to help quite a bit. The one really big ticket, though, on this list, and this is one that I really would like to try, is, and I'll just read it quote for quote here, ditch the cluster tables for missiles and roll a single die per cluster instead. And this is really, really cool. Basically, so this is again from the Death from Above Wargaming.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of rolling 2d6 and consulting the cluster hit chart, simply take the number of clusters for that weapon type and drop a single die per cluster. So if you roll a 3-6, the cluster will hit. If you roll a 1-2, the cluster misses. The minimum damage you can roll is 2, no matter what. So if all the dice are 1 and 2s, you still resolve 2 damage. So that's kind of a nice blanket system, right? They go
pretty straightforward.
Yeah, they go on to say, if desired, you can adjust the minimum damage for LRM 20s and SRM 6s to 5 and 4 respectively. This aligns better with their minimum damage on the cluster charts. So here's an example of what I just said. So you fire an LRM 20 and an SRM 4 at a mech. Both weapons hit. The LRM damage is resolved in clusters of 5. So for an LRM 20, you need to roll 4 dice. You roll a 3, a 4, a 6, and a 1. The 3, 4, and the 6, each of these, you roll a location mark and mark down your 5 damage done. The 1 is a total miss, so your LRM 20 did a total of 15 damage, resolved in 5-point clusters as usual. Super fast.
Yeah,
super fast.
And that does change LRMs a bit for sure.
For
it sounds faster, and it almost sounds better.
Yeah.
For that weapon system.
Indeed. It
and
just seems
and the SRM
and so the SRM 4, each SRM is resolved as a 2 damage cluster. So you need to roll 4 dice. Okay. You roll it and you get a 2, 1, 2, and 2. Pretty terrible result for an SRM 4. Each of those is a miss. However, the minimum damage is 2. So you still get to resolve 1 SRM hit for 2 damage. And you'd roll your location like normal. They go on to say, like, comparables. If you do math on average damage using this method versus the average with the cluster tables, it's so bang on. And, even just looking straight up at the cluster chart itself, for an LRM 20, like, your minimum is going to be 6 and your max is 20. Where if you're going this little bit of a quicker way, it's still going to be 5, 10, 15, or 20. Right. It really does seem to take extra rolls out of the equation. Because, let's be real, like, you're rolling 2d6 to hit. Now you're rolling 2d6 to figure out a cluster. Now you're breaking up your clusters into chunks of damage. And now you're rolling, like, it does take a step out.
It takes the looking at the chart step out, pretty much, right? And then on top of that, like, you roll a hit, you hit with it, and then you roll per cluster. If it's all misses, then it's only a certain amount of damage you're doing.
Yeah.
And if you're rolling 3 hits, let's say on an LRM 20, like you said, it's going to be 3 locations, right? You're not looking to see, it's 13 missiles. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So if you taking like the less charts there are, and I know BattleTech has a lot of them, but if it helps with the enjoyment first, I would say, and speed of the game, which kind of go a little hand in hand, I think it's definitely worth trying. Right. And as for like, it sounds like they've already like kind of done the research and or play through on this stuff. Because if they're already saying, like, if they're doing the math and they're saying that it's already like very, very comparable to the same thing.
It is, yeah.
Then why wouldn't you use it? You know, in a sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get it. At a tournament level or something, you're going to go strictly with rules as written. I get it. But you know, in your little communities or groups or whatever, maybe it's a suggestion.
Yeah.
To make things like we haven't been playing it for very long, but we're already finding like, hey, this would be cool if it was quicker, or how do we make it quicker, or what do we do, right?
Well, that's the thing. Like, and so in this FAQ document, they do go on to continue and talk about, so if a missile launcher is equipped with Artemis, the same rules apply, except you can reroll ones. So, you know, you roll the 4 clusters and say you roll 2 1s, a 3, and a 4. You actually can re-roll the 1s. And on a 3+, they'll hit as normal, which is nice. If all the clusters miss, it's still the minimum 2 damage applies, which is fine. They talk about having targets with AMS. They talk about Artemis and Narc. Same thing, basically. They have reasonings, too, beside their rules, right? So, like, the reason why they bring this in is for speed of play. It's an amazing thing, and almost hard to believe that the statistics regarding average damage turn out almost identically to the cluster hits table. In that regard, there is negligible impact to weapon effectiveness, but a great gain in speed of play. Which realistically, guys, you are getting your games done faster, which means you are playing more.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. And I mean, as wargamers, we all know if a game does drag on, eventually, like, unfortunately, it was one of the things that got me out of the game way back in my youth. You know, there was faster games out there, right? But if you love the game as much as, you know, myself, lore and everything, and if it's faster and makes it more enjoyable, I'm up. I'm game. I'm 2 thumbs up, 100%. Jump in, full throttle, hit the override button. Let's go. You know. So I don't know. It's looking promising for that.
It does
It'd be
seem
nice to try.
Very interesting. I think one of the biggest things is the way the ranges work with the modifiers currently, like as written in the book, and not having a very high piloting skill. It actually seems to suffocate the game to the point where like nothing's happening.
Or the gunnery skill and stuff.
You're rolling dice and nothing's happening. There's no actual action, right? Like, oh, I need 11 and 12s. Maybe that one off time you're like, yeah, I did it, I hit. But let's be real, like majority of the time, nothing's going on. You're almost making the game take too long because you're trying to roll those 2 PPCs that need 12s or whatever the case may be, right? Like, and generating needless heat. It's just
And the immersion of the game itself, like the whole game is, mech on mech combat, and the more of that's in the game that actually is affecting each other, like the mechs, like the battle itself. If you're taking damage, and you're dealing damage and stuff is happening and there's criticals and explosions, the game moves on faster because there's less stuff to have to actually activate. Like if you lost your mech, well, you lost your mech. Now the game goes quicker, but you are still having an enjoyable time, even though these homebrew or FAQs kind of little updates or whatever, it's not impacting the game where it's going to make it too powerful for one person. Right? That's the last thing you want. But yeah, like we've seen it in many games where we tried to get away from games that were like super time consuming. And it has happened in the past, right? Like we've had games where we've played for 4 or 5 hours long, and it's just like, whew, okay, that felt like a mega battle.
Yeah,
you know,
it's true.
But with these updates and rules that they've come up with on their own, there, like I like how they not only did they like tackle the LRM, but they also looked at Artemis and NARC and AMS. So those things aren't invalid, right? And like the re-rolling of the hit, it's more kind of modernized, because you do see that mechanic in a lot of games, like modern games right now, right? A lot of the other strategy games and like the infamous Warhammer and even bolt action and stuff like that. The rerolls is such an iconic thing that can be used in every system to a certain extent. So I do like that. I like that they've really looked at that. It's interesting to see. It will be interesting to see, I should say, and play with those current rules and stuff.
Absolutely.
To see how it is. Like, if it's more enjoyable, I'm game. So.
And like, there's a ton of different add-ons that they have in here. Another one is mechs provide cover. Mechs, friend or foe, can block line of sight and provide cover, just like hard cover or buildings. Rules is written, this isn't the case currently, as like, your friendly mechs don't actually block you, but that reasoning for this, like immersion, again, to quote this document, we like that a unit can shield their allies from incoming fire, and crowded urban fight will create line of sight havoc, just like you would expect. To me, that makes sense. That seems very, very on par for what you would really expect out of a urban style, throwdown in Solaris City or whatever the case may be.
No, for sure. And I was actually surprised that it wasn't like that. To be honest, like, it has everything else is in there that hampers you and this and that, but you're allowed to shoot through. And I get it. Like, it was meant to be closer to a board game at first for that, so they just kind of, But with the amount of different source books and rule books and technical stuff for the game itself, I was surprised on that. But it also allows players to be a bit more tactical too, which brings another aspect to the game, because nowadays wargamers, it's not just very simple wargaming anymore. You're not just pushing pieces straight ahead to the center to fight the other guy's center. There's tons of tactics and detail and maneuvers, and it's no different in Battletech. Right? It's a very detailed game, which is awesome, and it'd be nice to see what else they got in store, because I know they have some other stuff like with campaign and all that as well. So, but our next time we play, and the next time we have our group play as well, we're going to try to see if the guys want to kind of try them out. Try the modified hits, and probably the LRMs as well, and see how that pans out, and then kind of bring it back to the show. And
well, we'll definitely let you guys know how it affected the game. But like that said, has anybody else ever tried these rules, or have you ever found yourself thinking or saying the same thing with the current system? Like, is there, are you looking for a way to speed it up? Is there something maybe your group has done to house rule some of these issues, or is this kind of like a standard loadout? Myself being super new, like I just jumped in the Battletech in June last year, so I only have 6 going on 7 months under my belt, but I can see there are some, I don't want to say issues, but there's some mechanics in the game that are showing their age. Let's put it that way, right? Having a game that is faster would definitely help, I think, bring people to the system and also get you at events being able to complete your games. Also, the big takeaway too, and we've already kind of started learning this as well, is setting an actual limit for turns. We found that having objectives in our games have helped dramatically, because it's not just a shoot 'em up and that's it. There's actually some movement that has to happen. You can't just bunker down beside a piece of terrain and shoot at someone all game without any movement. Like, you actually have to move around the board to try and get these objectives.
Yeah.
So it's helped.
It's definitely one of those games that you will not see somebody tabled.
No.
With the current, with the way the current game is, right? Like, we've played, and you're going in third turn, fourth turn, and there's not really much has happened. No. Not much damage has been applied, and as you can see, as you guys play the games and you try out these different mechs, there's some mechs that are just, they're walking beefcakes.
Very tanky.
They got a lot of armor and they can take a lot of punishment, and it usually takes 2-3 mechs to pulverize into one mech just to try to take it out with engine hits or an ammo explosion or something like that. So having maybe these rules changed a little bit or homebrewed or whatnot is great to see. And again, if, like Bill said, if there's anybody out there that has anything they wouldn't mind sharing, then we can check it out. Or maybe you got yourself your own FAQ document of things you've implemented over the years of playing. That'd be great to take a look at and check out and try.
For sure.
So
I think that's what kind of naturally happens with gaming groups. I know with some of the other systems we've played, it's come up, and we've had actual player-based meetings, and we've talked about certain mechanics in games, and we have made FAQ calls, and then we make it posted as a document on the various groups to make sure everyone's aware, and this is how the general local community is going to be playing moving forward. And surprisingly enough, there are times you start to kind of poke around online. There's other groups just like yours out there that are playing, and they're applying the same kind of FAQs.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
That part is nice.
It's always a good shake-up too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So change things around if you can, and if your group is willing to. And sometimes you got players that are just hardcore, by the book, and that's it, which is fine. But if you're willing to implement little changes, it's pretty cool too.
Exactly. So, I think the biggest thing to keep in mind when you are using these is to have an open mind with them. If you've never played it before, you've never tried these FAQs, give it a chance before you're like, no, it's not in the book. Yeah, I don't like it. Because that'll earn you a one-way ticket, man, to not getting the phone call to come game, right? There's always that one stick in the mud dude who doesn't want to play. Well, yeah. Don't be that guy. And if you don't know of anyone who is that guy, you might be that guy. So be careful. Just be careful. I'm just saying, right? It's there is a saying like that. It's like, oh, if you don't know any assholes, usually you are one. That's what I'm going with that. So,
Fair enough.
but yeah, try it out, check it out. See how it is. I will have a link in the description for this document, so you can actually go on the page like yourself and check it all out. It'll take you right to their main page, the Death from Above Wargaming, and yeah, just take a peek, see what you want to look at. I would recommend it just because it looks like it could actually help a lot. That's the big meat and potato section of this particular episode. The other part is being a clan kid. I definitely feel that it is super uphill playing Inner Sphere versus clan. Inner Sphere versus Inner Sphere didn't feel too unbalanced. It actually felt pretty fun overall, especially on some of the not as advanced mechs. Like the rifleman I had 16 slots for heat, not double heat sinks, just 16 single heat sinks, and I was like, 16? What? Like, it was not that much, and there was a point in their game where I maxed that turd out like all the way. Like I generated 40 plus heat and I shut down. I also got my leg blown off and fell down and was unconscious, and he was dead anyways, right? So I'm glad I alpha'd when I had the chance, but it was insanity. I was like, 16, that's crazy, I'm used to 26 to 30 plus. Double heat sinks usually.
Yeah, I do remember a point in our game where Bill did mention that he definitely felt humbled by playing as Inner Sphere.
I did. Oh yeah.
Just because he is so used to playing as clans, as I introduced him into the power of the clans. But it's good to see the fact that he's realized too that, oh wow, okay, I get why people play Inner Sphere, but yeah, this could be tough.
It definitely
could be tough,
and that's
that
was the whole kind of mindset behind putting together that Merc unit, is for something to be able to play if we're going to be playing early era Succession Wars, anything pre-clan invasion. It was to have a force that I could run around and still play and have fun with the guys.
Yep.
But I'll be honest, if I have a choice, I'm gonna go clan all the way, because one, like, Crusaders are really trying to fulfill Kerensky's vision for the Inner Sphere, and I like the tech. I won't lie.
Well, the tech is a big advantage for sure. Like, there's no denying that. It's a big advantage for sure.
Like, sometimes it's almost double the range, right? Like, it's insane.
And we're talking. I mean, we're talking clan invasion era, right? And like more like early mid invasion era. We haven't really gotten to some of the other eras yet. There's been some sneak peeks of stuff, but you look at some of the weaponry and you're like, what the heck is that? But that'll be coming down the pipe later on, probably in the year or so. But for the mainstay, yeah, you can definitely feel that advantage.
Yeah.
Just in ranges, right? Never mind, heat sinks and stuff, but like range of weaponry is completely different.
So that's the one main thing I noticed too, is my and here's my quick, really rough takeaway is Inner Sphere, tanky builds, like tanky mechs, crap range, and okay heat sinks. But Inner Sphere on Inner Sphere can be quite a slugfest because they are so tanky. Whereas, you know, the clan, not as tanky, very much glass cannon, but can deal the damage out way more, like a lot more damage, a lot farther away, better heat management. So I can see where that is kind of the balancing factor, is you still have to chew through a ton of armor on inner sphere units, and in return, like, you are getting hit. It might be harder for the inner sphere to, you know, get into close range to use their full potential, but you can't take as much of a punishment.
And that I would say that goes depending on the mechs that you're picking, of course. Like, there are some clan mechs that are just as big as some of the inner sphere mechs, right? Their counterparts. And not only are they big, but they have the weaponry to match, right? Because they just have more weaponry, and they have better tech and XL engines, and, you know, everything's built in. But at the same time, you can find inner sphere mechs that can go toe to toe with them, right? Some of the earlier mechs for inner sphere, yes, and this is the thing with playing the game without custom mechs, is you have a gazillion mechs to pick out of, and yes, there's a lot of them that are just not that great, and yes, there are some that are decent, and others that are well equipped, right? So depending on what you're doing, what you're playing, how you're playing, who you're playing, you know, yeah, you can have that battle. You can have that toe-to-toe fight. You can say to yourself, you know what, I like these mechs because they got lots of armor. They're okay on weaponry, but I'm not worried about that. They're going to slug it out. You know, you got clan who have way more speed, but usually when you look at their speed and you look at their armor, it's like, oh, okay, why does my 55 tonner have more armor than my 65 tonner? You know what I mean? Like, and that comes about on just designs. And I do like how they've gone through and they've made these designs, and not every design of mech is, you know, the perfect mech, right? Like, there's a Mad Dog that I think has the 2 gauze rifles, and that's all it has.
Yeah.
Not my cup of tea.
No, not ideal.
Right? Like, when I think gauze rifles, I'm thinking like assault mechs have these on them. Like large assault mechs. Right? They cost a ton of tons, and they're high damage, so hopefully the thing has 2 of them.
No doubt.
But the mech also has 6 medium lasers. You know what I mean? Whereas you try to put one of those on a mech, and it's like, that's its only weapon. That's a lighter mech. You know, oh, Hollander, that's all I got, but I got 1 point of armor.
Yeah.
You know, like, so I mean, overall the game itself is pretty cool for that. So many designs, and there's so much out there. Like, the amount of PDFs I have for mech sheets is crazy. But it's cool because, like, I brought out what was it? An Awesome, a Raven, an Orion, and what else did I have? I can't remember what I had.
Trebuchet.
Trebuchet.
Yeah, the little bastard that wouldn't die.
So yeah, so, and actually, besides the Raven, he was the next lightest armored. But, you know, 3 out of those 4 mechs I haven't played, and I looked at the mechs and I was like, okay, you know what? I think, you know, House Merrick or you know, Free Worlds League would employ these kind of mechs in their armies and stuff like that, right? And try to do the LRM thing, you know, using NARC, this and that. So I tried to change it up from my Steiner forces, which is cool, right? And, like, yeah, some of the variants are not that great. Some of them are. Yeah. Some of them have better tech, ER ranges, you know. Stay away from XL engines if you're in your sphere.
Stay away from anything with ballistics. Just letting you know.
Well, see, and here's the thing too.
Unless you have Case. That's
um,
sweet Case.
Yeah, Case can still, yeah. Um, it's unless you're getting those critical hits, like the XL engine for Sphere isn't a big. Maybe you guys disagree with me. It's not a huge worry, but it's always a worry because you lose that left torso, you're done, right? But on the tabletop, and I guess this is comparing to like MechWarrior Online, but on the tabletop, you take a hit, you're still okay, right? Yeah. Like they still have to strip you of that torso, and that takes a long time.
Yeah, it does.
Right? Unless you're getting pummeled by 4 mechs, and then it's game over.
That's true. I think that was probably the most enjoyable part of playing the Mercs was double or triple teaming a mech without breaking any clan honor. Like that part was fun. It felt underhanded and fun at the same time. I definitely, I look forward to, playing them more just to, really get the experience with the older style tech.
So, oh yeah. And that's where like doing succession wars is a great way to start, right? Like everybody's using the same tech or close to same tech and just give her.
Yeah.
But then that's the beautiful thing of Battletech, and it's like we've said before, it's anytime you're playing Battletech compared to a lot of other games, you are putting in a session.
It is
for sure. It's like the old D&D club guys getting together, guys and girls getting together playing D&D, right? You're sitting there playing for a few hours. Now, obviously, I mean, this episode we're trying to talk about some things of trying to improve the speed of the game because, again, more games you get in, the better. But the beautiful thing about Battletech is it is a universe, it is a game where almost each player could be like a game master. They can bring anything to the table and say, hey guys, you guys want to try this out because I think it can speed up our games. Or I think this is a bit better. Or, you know what, I have an idea of running something. Do you guys want to play? Let's do it, right? So, and that's one of the big reasons I love Battletech. Not only do they have just this tabletop mech on mech action, fighting each other, grinding it out, ammo explosions, PPC to the head knocks your pilot right out of the game. It also can have a kind of role-playing aspect to it as well. They do have Destiny. They used to have MechWarrior way back when. But ultimately, you guys as a community and a player-based team, you guys can come up with anything for it. And that's the beautiful part about it, right? Set aside, tournaments and stuff like that. If you got a solid crew that you want to play with, 5-6 guys, and that's the guys you're playing with, and you come up with stuff, we'd like to hear about it.
Definitely.
It's that reaching out for that fun, and that's what I'm all about is doing that stuff, especially with gaming.
Oh, speaking of gaming, I know if you have followed some of the previous episodes, you would know that Andy was rocking Somerset Strikers. I'm rocking Clan Jade Falcon. We are planning on doing our Mission 2. Just got to get, some mechs painted up and ready for that. I think that'll be early February. We'll be getting that going, where we can actually take some pics and show a little bit of the action.
Yep. We should definitely try to implement these topics and rulings into that game.
I agree. I think it would be a lot of fun to experiment with.
Definitely. Because our next fight is It's fairly large.
Yeah, it is.
Right. We've mentioned it on one of the episodes last year, but I do have a Lance of Somerset Strikers, and then Bill, I believe, I think you have
A
like
lot.
two stars or something like that.
I'm pretty sure it's 4 Summoners, 2 Timberwolves, 2 Mad Dogs, and I believe it is 2 Hunchback.
Yeah, and pretty much I have to survive.
Yeah, I start off
until reinforcements get here.
I start off the edge of the board at 13 heat because I've been running into hot sun for a long time, and he's got to survive. He's got to hold out. So
yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes, and it also gives us some insight on these missions that are in some of these older books. So see how it plays out. Because I know we're going to be actually looking into creating our own missions as well, for just futuristic games and future events as well, right? So hopefully, I think hopefully this year possibly get some kind of local event.
Yeah,
going on for Battletech.
Yeah, that's
which would be cool.
There are many wheels in motion trying to get everything ready for actual events locally. Once everything kind of stabilizes, I guess, then we'll definitely be hitting it hard. Most likely, it'll probably be multi-system, so you can really get a good spread of action. So, but we'll definitely pick up the Battletech talk again, and hit us up, comments, questions, anything that you have heard on the episode, or things that you just heard in passing, or even if there's just things that you have as suggestions, please let us know. You can fire it up to our email, the Facebook, Instagram, lots of different ways to interact with you guys, so definitely check it out. Keep using that hashtag Tridentwargaming. We really like seeing all the pictures and all the models and everything that you guys are posting. So that's half the fun, right? Is watching and looking at everyone else's posts. And yeah, we'll definitely make the jump. We'll start getting some more episodes going.
Exactly. Well, thanks for tuning in on this episode, the first one of the year. And we will catch you guys next time.
Catch you.
Trident Wargaming. Build it, paint it, play it.